it's a weird thing that the devastation associated with these tropical weather systems could in any way be exploited in the kinds of ways it is for political gain. And even when I say could be exploited for political gain, you kind of think, well, Mark, I mean, that's the reality, the new America, whatever you want to say. Okay, but would you completely make up the fact that there are entire communities getting no money from the federal government in relief, that there are no boots on the ground, to use the phrase that's often used, from the federal government, because somehow the federal government has redirected funds to migrants or illegal migrants, as is often said? I mean, it seems as though it's another level of BS that we're just not used to. Now, let me, I'll remind you of this now, although I was going to remind you of it after you see this clip. But the funds associated with disaster relief were withheld based on brutal political calculations. And do you know who withheld them? Donald Trump. Donald Trump, during his administration, did do the political calculus. And as you might be aware, in California, he was ready to hold back funds in disaster relief because he felt Californians, they are in a state that doesn't like me. That's a quote.
His assistants, he had them go and count the number of people who voted for him in the wildfire district and where the wildfire region where it happened. Because he was going to, if they didn't support him in that zone, if the voters there weren't Trumpers, then he was going to not give money.
And so he has taken that model and he's now redirected to the Biden administration. Oh, and the Biden administration is not doing that. I mean, you know, Biden administration is so bipartisan. I mean, everything is so bipartisan is the wrong word. It's apolitical when it comes to emergency relief. They are apolitical, as you should be. You're president and you're the administration for the whole country. And so, and we have chapter and verse, and we can show you all the ways in which they're apolitical. I mean, even in the appointment of a special counsel that was appointed during the Trump administration to investigate his own son, Hunter Biden. He allowed that special counsel to remain on the job and even gave him a second counsel to support his work in the investigation of his own son. So this is an administration, you can say a lot of things about them if you want, but you can't say that they exploit for political motives any kind of situation involving a natural disaster. And there are many more examples of how apolitical they are and how they don't want even the appearance of anything political when it comes to some of these decisions. So we come to, this is a major disaster, and the notion that you could use it for your own political gain just speaks to the fact that you don't really get how serious it is. It was just a dinner last night with some people who have family in North Carolina. Now, North Carolina wasn't even in the landfall area. It wasn't a part of the coastal area that endured the storm surge. They got what we talked about on the show, which is the release of energy and the tremendous amount of rain that follows the falling apart of these tropical weather systems after they no longer are over the water, which generates that energy to feed them. They release all of this water, precipitation. It's energy, okay? These are all ways in which energy is being balanced on the planet. And they say roads are impassable down there. The roads to many of these places, homes where people live, farms where people work, they are impassable and may remain so for a while. And he showed me pictures of these mudslides and the devastation. It's immense. And the notion that you could somehow toy with that and turn it into a Trump stump speech talking point, it's gross. Tony, play the FEMA director, if you would, please, on this past weekend. Go ahead. It was just from yesterday.
Let's talk about some of the misinformation that is out there, including these claims from former President Trump that FEMA is about $1 billion short because money has been going to undocumented immigrants. Also, that the areas of the Republican areas of the state are being intentionally ignored in some fashion.
You know, it's frankly ridiculous and just plain false. This kind of rhetoric is not helpful to people. You know, it's really a shame that we're putting politics ahead of helping people, and that's what we're here to do. We've had the complete support of the state. We've had the local officials helping to push back on this dangerous, truly dangerous narrative that is creating this fear of trying to reach out and help us or to register for help. You know, people need resources and we need them to get into the system. And it's just, you know, a shame that people are sitting home on their comfortable couches while we have thousands of people here on the ground that have left their own families to be able to help those in need.
So much.
Thank you, Tony. And the one thing I would say that I did also gain from talking to these people who have family in North Carolina is something that he said his sister told him. She's the person who, you know, runs the house down there. And he said, Mark, she told me she'd never seen so many people arrive so quickly after the disaster hit. So many relief workers, so many federal relief workers on the ground after all of this happened. So they're there. And the devastation is so substantial that it's going to take a long time to build back. But the idea somehow that they're not there is just a grotesque falsehood. And it has with it real damage because people get angry. They don't go after the government relief oftentimes because they're getting this information that the government is out of money, etc. And so there are real world consequences of these kinds of lies.
I was reading a story last night about how all of this could affect the election, and that there are poll areas that are devastated and that are, you know, wiped away. Also that there are mail-in ballots that have already been sent out, and how, you know, the mailboxes have been wiped away as well. And so these are areas that are heavily red areas, and that this could affect they're wondering, there's anticipation, you know, speculation that the vote in this area, that maybe people won't be going to the polls, that they've got other things to worry about, that maybe their ballots didn't come, that maybe, you know, that their poll places are gone. And so there could be some type of effect on the vote in these red areas.
No, that's really interesting. Yeah, really interesting. It's one of those things that you wonder, there's so many different angles to this, but there are many more angles than there normally would. And now there's another weather system pumping this. Is it, what's it called? Milton?
Milton, yeah.
So, and No Contendo says, compare Biden's response time with Bush's with Katrina. Yeah, thank you. Very, very, very good. I mean, Biden's a real, you know, drop whatever you're doing and let's get on this because I'm the president for all people. You may not like Biden for a bunch of different reasons, and I know there are people who show up here or show up in the basic political discourse and don't have much nice to say about Biden for any number of reasons. But boy, I tell you, I think he's old school that way. You know, he may be old school. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.